Shelley, and welcome to BIMS Bites Kids with your host, Andrew Walker. Take it away, Andrew.
And happy 2023. It's me, your BIMS Bites Kids host, Andrew Walker. And this year, we're switching up the format and asking big questions with little Drew. That's me. We'll be learning about our wonderful blue world, one question at a time. And to kick off the year, I'm asking, what is air? If we're being basic, air is all of this odorless, basically invisible gas that surrounds our planet. And without it, we really couldn't have life on Earth as we know it. Air is important because we need to breathe it in order to live. It also helps insulate our planet, making sure it doesn't get too hot or too cold. And that ozone in there helps protect us from the sun's rays. So I get it. Air is important, but what's in it? So it turns out the air that graces our lungs is made up of two main elements. It's about 78% nitrogen and 21% oxygen, with about 1% other things like carbon and argon mixed in. Now, elements, by the way, are kind of basically chemical building blocks, the little things that make up all the big things in our world. And now, we could do a whole separate video, and maybe we will someday soon, on elements in general. But today, we're going to focus on nitrogen and oxygen, the two main components of our air. So let's start with oxygen. Oxygen is super important for you and I and all breathing creatures. It's oxygen that's the thing that our lungs are taking from the air around us and putting through our bloodstream in order to keep our bodies energized and moving. And oxygen isn't just important all by its own. Oxygen makes compounds, combinations with other elements that we see all around all the time. If you've ever seen rust on a piece of metal or liquid water, those are things that are partially made up of oxygen. And where does all this oxygen come from? Plants, algae, other things that use photosynthesis to get their energy from chemical reactions moving from the sun. The plants can take the sun's light, nutrients, carbon dioxide, and other things. They make energy for themselves, food for you and I, and they produce oxygen. If anyone was looking for another reason to love plants, you might just have found it. And next up is nitrogen. Like oxygen, it's super important. This tiny little element is a lot what makes up our proteins and other things that we need in our body. And it's not just important for you and I and other animals, it's also really important in plants. It's one of those all-important nutrients we just mentioned that helps plants do that photosynthesizing that allows them to grow, prosper, and make a lot of the food that you and I eat. So you might say, wow, the more nitrogen, the better. Well, it's not exactly true. All things need to be in balance in nature, and nitrogen is no exception. If there's too much nitrogen, like if we say use nitrogen as a fertilizer to help our plants grow, if there's too much of it, it'll wash away into our rivers and streams, and it could cause something called eutrophication, which is a big, long word that means too much nitrogen. And that buildup will cause a lot of algae to grow, which at first might not be a bad thing, but all of a sudden everything is out of whack, out of balance, and we have a big problem. Because once all that algae goes away, it might create a dead zone, a place for a while that no animals or plants can live. So again, all things in balance. We want nitrogen, we want oxygen, just not too much in the wrong places. Air is great. But like just about everything on this planet, the things that human beings like you and I do to it isn't always the best. Things like cars, factories, and so many things that we rely on for our daily lives, they put particles of soot, dust, and all sorts of nasty things into the air, which not only makes it harder for you and I to breathe, but also contributes to the global climate change that is a crisis for our planet. But there are things that you and I can do every day to to make our impact a little bit smaller. We could bike, we could walk where we need to go, we can support companies or initiatives that have lower carbon impacts, or we can go out there and plant a tree. Because not only do trees create oxygen, they also help filter a lot of these nasty chemicals out of our air. There's stuff that you and I can do every single day to make this world a better place. It is a new year, which means I need new questions so that we can learn a little bit more about our blue world together. Let me know what big questions you have for little Drew by emailing me at andrewtheeducator@gmail.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. It has been a pleasure as always. And don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe Everything Black in Marine Science. Alright folks, until next time, stay curious, and I'll see you next month.